Yeah, welcome to More Than Black and White podcast, where health, hustle, and higher thinking meet.
And today, right, we're going over a topic that Brian and I both think is interesting. It's in the news. A lot of people are gravitating towards this, and we think it's time that we talk about it, especially considering what we do as a health and well-being podcast. B, you want to share with the peoples what we're talking about today?
Ozempic, man, it's any kind of weight loss drug, especially Ozempic. You see it really getting pushed a lot, and Paul and I, we've probably trained thousands of clients in the last 5 decades combined, and we're definitely seeing in the last couple years where people are like, hey, I'm not losing weight, or I can't lose weight. What about this weight loss drug, Ozempic? And it's like, man, you gotta be careful, because you don't want to pop people's balloons too quickly. You got to kind of slowly let the air out, so you keeps the motivation. But people are always trying to go for the easy way out. And there is people out there, very, 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 very small percentage of people that are just have bad genetics or they're overweight. But most of the time, it just comes down to lifestyle changes. So I try to always work with lifestyle changes and just kind of put a little thing on this is if I agree Ozempic could be good for you if you have such bad late stage diseases where listen, if you don't lose weight, you're gonna die. Okay, let's do this now. Maybe that's the asterisk behind it. But I see a lot of people out there that are they only need to lose maybe 10 or 15 pounds, which can be a good 4 to 6 months doing it the right way. But they want to take the easy way on. They want to go on Ozempic. So I always have to warn them with the side effects that's going on and what the media is pushing. There's no health concerns or anything like that. And people like to believe that the doctors, the white coats, are there to help them. I think some are, but the majority of them don't understand how the body works on a holistic mechanism.
Yeah, well, you bring up many great points, and there's a couple of things I wanna highlight before we really dive into this for the peoples, right? I guess this could be considered more of a disclaimer, but the reason why Brian and I are talking about this, and the reason we have the ability to talk about this, is Brian and I, as you mentioned, collectively, we have 50 years of experience in the health and well-being industry, ranging from nutrition specialist, personal trainer, health and well-being guy, mental wellness. We also, from what we've done and also from who we've trained under and trained with, we've learned a lot about health and well-being beyond just the body, but also, as Brian mentioned, holistically, how it connects to other things within ourselves and outside of ourselves. And when we're talking about this Ozempic today, this is free of, hey, there may be some parts in here we're shaming some people, and we do judge here, because again, we want you to have both sides of the fence, and knowing that there are healthy costs, there is a reason why Ozempic is in existence, and at the same, we'll talk to that, and at the same time, there's a reason Ozempic is high in popularity, and that's where if it's seen as something just like any entity, and people have a chance to make money on it, they will make money on it and with it. As while and this is the piece, right? It can be very difficult to stay in integrity to something when money calls in other places. That's why Brian and I talk about, when we talk about health and well-being, it's more than black or white.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And your doctors, they make money off this. Every time they sell something, they make money off it too. And they're getting their studies. Not to jump too far ahead, but Ozempic was created by Novo Nordisk, and they're getting their studies based off studies that Novo Nordisk paid for. So they're cherry picking their studies. They're setting their studies upwards and purposely not showing any side effects. But all the independent research out there that actually does the studies ethically is showing that the side effects are astronomically just poor, just really poor. That's the only way I can say it. It's so bad for you. We can get right into what is Ozempic, right?
Yeah, let's talk to it, man, because I know most people will probably realize or think it's a weight loss drug, but let's go into what this really is, man.
Yeah, so it's basically what they call is it's a GLP-1, which stands for glucagon like peptide 1. It's a receptor agonist, which mimics a gut hormone, which curbs your appetite. It depresses your appetite. It slows digestion. It helps regulate blood sugar, which was actually created for diabetics, to help diabetics with their blood sugar levels. Again, originally for type 2 diabetics, now it's widely prescribed for weight loss.
Hey B, wait 1 second. When you were talking about that study before and like what Novo Nordisk talked about with the Ozempic, was that study for weight loss or was it for type 2 diabetes?
Weight loss. Weight loss. Yeah. Weight loss. Even it'll still do, even if you have diabetes, like most people, I mean, a good majority of people, I want to say, like I was reading a study the other day, but like 50 to 60% of Americans, they have type 2 diabetes, whether you've been diagnosed with it or not.
Yeah.
And it was funny, we're talking pregame now too, is technically in most medical books, if you were to have 30% body fat, you're actually considered type 2 diabetic.
Oh,
and yeah, I read that a while ago in a couple books. I don't know if it's really like mainstream right now, but basically, like when I'm working with somebody, I want to make, and they're on the weights, just say I do their body fat measurements and they're like 32, 33% or whatever like that. My goal is I tell them is like, listen, we got to get you on that 30%, because regardless of what you think your health is right now, you're actually considered type 2 diabetic, but you realize it or not. And we posted a story the other day on our Instagram, and this guy was on the Joe Rogan store, was a doctor on there, and he's like the average human now, the average American, I should say, is fatter than a pig. Like women, the average American woman is 40% body fat. The average American man is 28% body fat. And the average percent of fat for a pig is between 20 and 25%. So as a society in America, we are actually fatter than bacon. So if that doesn't like make you think and like, okay, so these weight loss drugs they're feeding off stuff like this, So
God, this is
we're fatter than bacon, man.
Yeah, I mean, so here's what's going through my head. The whole setup. We make them fat. We give them this to address it so that they can feed other things we're putting out.
Yeah.
Right? It's amazing because, and you mentioned something before, people that want to lose like 10 pounds and that could do it the right way in 4 to 6 months. They'll be like, yo, doc, get me that Ozempic, son. You know what I mean? And it's not like, and it's very much like, I'm failing to remember, but the blue chip, right? The blue chip was originally for heart conditions. And now it's like, oh man, it's for erectile dysfunction, get your blood circulation. But
yeah.
So and I mention this because again, a drug can have multiple uses, but the primary use for this is for type 2 diabetics. And you notice the reason why we're saying this is because this is composed of a receptor that has an intention. Okay, is to regulate blood sugar. That's the key thing for a diabetic, right? Manage the appetite, because the diabetics love the sugar sweet stuff.
Yes, they
right?
do.
They love the sugar sweets, man. So what are we talking about here, right? So this is where we look at we talk about what this is, but and we also started talking about how it became a weight loss drug. So something that you mentioned in the pregame, I'm gonna have you talk to this, right? Because like I thought this was very interesting. And Brian, I'm talking about that point with the 60 minutes.
Yeah.
Can you talk to that piece, man?
Yeah, it really started blowing up probably about like a little over 2 years ago. And 60 Minutes, they brought this doctor on the show. Her name was Dr. Fatima Cody. She was out of Stanford University, probably one of the most prestigious universities as far as like medical universities they are. And she was promoting Ozempic on 60 Minutes. And after like basically the whole interview, you can just like YouTube this video, and after the whole video, I mean, while she's doing the interview, the reporter's just like, "Oh my God, this is amazing! Oh my God, this is great!" Blah blah. Doesn't list any side effects whatsoever. So fast forward, it comes out that she's actually a paid spokeswoman for Novo Nordisk, and she gets paid basically just do any kind of. I think she got paid like $30,000 to do this, or something around like the high 20s, $20,000 to do this. And this is what she does for a living. So the whole 60 minutes interview was just a commercial for Ozempic going forward. And I dug in a little more research with her too, and I'm like, oh, what's going on with this woman? And this is a woman that's going to one of the most prestigious schools. Is famous doctor out there, and she thinks, and anybody that understands health as a holistic mechanism will gasp at this, but she thinks that obesity is a brain disease and it's genetic. And if you think it's genetic, you just got to read some books with Dr. Bruce Lipton. You need to read some books on a type of genetics called epigenetics. And epigenetics is basically it's I would say it's anywhere from genetics have anywhere from I've seen 3 up to a 20% effective rate in our body. So it basically plays anywhere from 3% up to 20% has effectiveness in our body. Epigenetics is basically your environment that controls the genetics move. So the common analogy is like genetics load the gun, your environment, epigenetics pulls the trigger. And she thinks this is basically 100% genetic obesity. And just with that asinine, it's almost like it's scary too, because she learns that in a university, people pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to go, and then they have the ability to work with the human body. And it's laughable. And then the problem is people get sick because they're overweight or any kind of other issues, and they go to these white coats and they believe that they can help them. They believe that they're on this like pedestal. They're like the next, coming of Jesus, and they listen to everything they say. And they tell them, hey, go on this Ozempic stuff, go on this weight loss drug, do this, do that, without diving into any kind of lifestyle issues. Hey, let's talk about your stress. Let's talk about your mental, emotional. Let's talk about your, your nutritional. What else is going on? How's your sleep patterns? Are you eating organic? No? Okay. Look, they just skip all that and they want to go right to something like Ozempic. So this woman really blew it up, and she blew it up in a very unethical way. And shame on 60 Minutes for not doing it either. They had to have known. They had to have known that she was a paid spokesman for this. They had to have not. Shame on 60 Minutes for not doing your due diligence, because people watch this stuff. And a lot of people, they take the news and they take these shows as, the word of God.
The word of God. Yeah, listen, man. You know what? Like we talked about before, 60 Minutes is a business. And if you be like 60 Minutes, they'd be like, I plead the fifth. Bump, bump.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't know.
Yeah, that's what they're gonna do, man. We didn't know about that. Yeah. How could we know? Even though we do extensive research on all our guests, we had no idea. We had no idea. But listen, this is this is interesting because just like anything else, if there's a rise in something like a keyword, it's just like how we're doing like with YouTube, right? Keywords. What's the keywords what key things that are being searched? It's the same thing how people get locked in. So weight loss, lock in. Genetics, lock in. Because what is it selling on a genetics thing, right? On a genetics platform? Well, you have no choice. This is in your DNA.
Yeah, or it's not your fault, but don't worry, we'll coddle you and help you out. Don't take any responsibility for yourself. It's not your fault. That pizza and that beer just got in your mouth.
It just magically happened.
Yeah.
It's like, what was the Lucky Charms? It magically appeared in your mouth. Magically, man. Like it's. So we breed a culture with a lack of accountability or self-responsibility, right? And this is where this comes in. I think this is part of the rise of the weight loss. And just like the things, just like something like the rise of the microwave, man. Yeah, it's convenient, it's easy, it's gonna heat up my food. But hey, listen, there's a bunch of rays that are gonna be all up in your food molecules that's gonna end up, doing some damage. We're not gonna tell you about that though.
No, they won't. And what's actually really scary is that the food industry. So the FDA and the pharmaceutical companies are hand in hand. They're married. And what's interesting is that since Ozempic has came out and these weight loss drugs came out, there has been a 1 to 1.2% decline in food sales drops because people are not buying snacks because they're not hungry. There's been a 3% drop in alcohol sales due to GLP-1 drugs such as Ozempic. So what is the food companies now doing? Food companies are now considering reformulating products to align with GLP-1 drug users. So it's going to increase your appetite. Now they're going to put more stuff in your food to increase your appetite to try to block those. And then now Ozempic might not work, so they're going to come out with in the future, Ozempic 2.0, which is going to make it even more severe. You're going to have more side effects than you already do now. And then the food company, what are they going to do? They're going to find the molecule the hormone that's breaking it down or suppressing that appetite, and they're going to add more stuff in their food, or they're going to reformulate the product.
That's correct.
To block that. And it's just this vicious cycle going back and forth.
Bro, it really is a vicious cycle, bro. It is a vicious cycle, and that contributes to the rise of all this, though, because now you painted this in a certain picture. Then plus you get the celebs in on it. Right?
Yeah.
Get the celebs in on it. Like, look, I'm looking at this. And by the way, like, as I pull up this thing, right? There is a brand name for this receptor that we're talking about, which is Wegovy. I was doing research. There's an FDA approval of Wegovy for obesity, actually, which is this receptor. But it's interesting what you say, especially how they're marketed towards gaining more money. Like, what better way than, than to also pull the celebrity on that as well, right? So I'm looking at some of the main celebrities that have listed celebrities who have spoken about Ozempic or similar drugs. So Oprah Winfrey. Kelly Clarkson was taking another medication for blood sugar, which I think could have been that Wegovy. Amy Schumer, Elon Musk, Chelsea Handler, Whoopi Goldberg, Khloe Kardashian, Lizzo. Like, these are people here, like, again, and it's funny because, and I want to take Lizzo as an example. Bless up to Lizzo. This is where the narrative comes into play in relation to the rise of something, right? Because when Lizzo first came out, she was a bigger woman. There was a rise of self-body image, confidence. Like, I could be a big woman and you're
brave
and big and bold, and I'm playing the flute and dancing with my
having metabolic diseases is brave.
Right.
Okay. Do you?
Yeah. So, like, again, like, there most likely was type 2 diabetes there, right? So, like,
100%.
How something like this could be like, hey, listen, she could be like, hey, I'm using this to address my type 2 diabetes. And maybe she has said that, but chances are, because of the visual imagery of her being a bigger woman and now she's smaller, that's also a sell, and that contributes to the rise of the other piece of this.